I am glad that you visited my channel. Subscribe and put likes. It is very motivating for me to create new videos. Enjoy watching. It was a normal working day. Everything was going as usual. There were only a few hours left till the end of the working day, but the time stretched slowly. Each minute seemed longer than the previous one. The office was quiet. Only computers hummed and colleagues occasionally talked to each other. And then, as if by chance, I got an unexpected call with surprising news. It was my wife. At first, the conversation went normally. She asked me how my day was, and we discussed dinner plans. But then she suddenly mentioned that she was going to visit her friend in another city today because it was her friend's birthday, and they wanted to celebrate together. Her sudden change of plans took me by surprise, but I tried to be supportive and wished her a good time. When my wife left for the evening, I decided to take advantage of my unexpected free time. I decided to go grocery shopping, thinking I could make something delicious for myself. As I entered the store, I saw my wife's sister, Rachel, standing there browsing the produce section. It was a surprise to me to see her there, and I couldn't help but smile as I approached her. I approached her and asked if she wanted to buy groceries for us as well, but she looked at me hesitantly, nodded and told me to go home. She would do the shopping herself. It was unclear to me why she was so insistent, but I decided not to argue. I gave her a spare set of keys and headed home, feeling somewhat curious about her behavior. While she bought everything, I had time to clean the house a bit and change into fresh clothes. I took a quick shower, letting the warm water wash away the tiredness of the day. By the time I was done, I felt refreshed and ready to relax. I put on some comfortable clothes and began to clean up the living room, putting away the scattered magazines and fluffing the cushions on the couch. It was nice to have a quiet evening alone, which didn't happen very often. Eventually, Rachel came in with 2 full bags, her face slightly flushed from carrying them. She smiled as she walked in and mentioned that she had decided to buy some wine too, so we could sit and drink and reminisce. We hadn't spent time together in a while, and I could see that she was anxious to catch up. After all, she and I had quite a bit in common. Before I met my wife, Rachel and I had a brief affair. It wasn't long, and it wasn't very serious. At least I thought it was. But Rachel was hoping for something more, something long-term, even forever. I didn't realize that at the time, like so many other things. That's why her phrase, remembering the past, made me feel a little uncomfortable. Nevertheless, everything was fine. We sat down at the table and started chatting, opening a bottle of wine and pouring ourselves a glass each. We reminisced about different times, like sitting in the same little cafe when we were young, always ordering the same dish because it was all we could afford. We remembered walks in the park, buying cotton candy and funny situations we got into, like when we got caught in the rain and were soaked to the skin, laughing and running under a tree. These memories were warm and pleasantly nostalgic, and as we talked, I smiled more and more often. But I knew my wife wouldn't appreciate that kind of talk. She didn't like it when Rachel and I reminisced about our shared past. She'd always been a little uncomfortable with how close we'd once been, even though I'd assured her many times that it was all in the past. But since she wasn't around, we could chat freely without her sighs and disapproving looks. For me, it was just nostalgia, a way to remember simpler times before life became complicated with responsibility and obligations. But for Rachel, these memories seemed to rekindle old feelings, from simple passion to something deeper. Her eyes lingered on mine for far too long, and her laughter seemed more and more flirtatious as the evening went on. I was about to put an end to it, to change the subject and get us back on safer ground. But she suddenly started flirting with me more openly. She moved closer, her hand touching mine, and her gaze becoming intense. I was a little tipsy too, the wine allowing me to relax and let my guard down. I couldn't resist. As they say, forbidden fruit is sweet. At that moment, the lines blurred and we crossed a boundary that should have remained untouched. That's how it happened. We never told my wife. The secret hung between us, and though we both knew it was wrong, neither of us could bring ourselves to admit it. The weight of that night stayed with me, reminding me how easily things can spiral out of control if you let the past come to the surface.